What a beautiful day here in Prague, Czech Republic. And I am super excited to be here on the floor of ESPC 19, also known as the European SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure Conference. Live from Prague, Czech Republic, it's Jeff and Heather.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
I am thrilled to have Heather Newman here. Heather is my neighbor in California, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
Beautiful Venice and Marina del Rey.
Yep.
And I think we see each other more when we're out of town than we are when we're actually in town.
That is kind of true. Yes, we do. Well, that's all right. We're working on it.
And Heather and I go way, way back. I would say about 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
You were working at AvePoint at the time.
Yep.
Actually, what was the one before AvePoint?
But AvePoint, well,
Or that was your first foray into the SharePoint world?
No, and within partners. I spent the 10 years before that working for the SharePoint marketing team, running logistics and events.
Okay,
for
that's
Microsoft.
where that's where I met you. Then you went to AvePoint.
Yeah,
Got it.
Absolutely. So yeah.
But you know, nowadays Heather is known for more than putting on events. Heather, having 3 daughters myself, and I've known you for quite some time now.
Yeah.
I look at you as someone that would be a mentor for one of my daughters. I know you've got a number of different things that you're working on, but especially at this conference, you and Caruana did a session on diversity and inclusion, and I've always been not fascinated by it, but a big proponent of it. Tell me why, and I know the way you are, you're so passionate. Why are you so passionate about diversity and inclusion?
It is because it's about humans. And all of us and all the things that we bring to the table, and diversity and inclusion plus belonging on the end of it, making sure we all feel like we belong.
Yeah,
Dibs. Caruana taught me that after we talked about diversity and inclusion together for the first time, and she's like, and belonging, and I was like, oh my goodness, yes. So that acronym of DIBS. It's important to me because I really want people to have a voice, all of us to have a voice, and to be respected and really engaged for all the different things that we are. And I think that in our tech community over the last 18 years, I've just seen such goodness around people wanting to give opportunities to folks, and especially for women and for people of color, and looking at our LGBTQ communities and all of that, and really understanding everybody's story is different, and everybody has something kind of behind their smiling eyes that they're dealing with at any given moment. And I think having these conversations that open us up and help us with what I like to call power skills. Some people call soft skills. I call them power skills. So it's communication and conflict resolution and leadership and networking and mentoring and all those sorts of things. So I'm really passionate about, one, learning about those things all the time, and also teaching about those things. ESPC definitely has been a leader in bringing this kind of programming, and many of our third-party events has as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we started with Women in Tech Lunch a few years ago. I believe that was 2015. I was the first keynote for that, and that was fantastic. And I've done it twice, and Caruana was a keynote, and Donna Sakar as well, and we've got Mary coming in, and now, you know, Tracy, a couple of years ago, you know, Tracy's O'Connell, first of all, and the team.
Which Tracy? Tracy O'Connell?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Our
I love
organizer.
Tracy, you know.
I'm talking to Tracy I'm talking to Tracy at lunchtime.
Okay, yeah, so, and Shane, and all, darling, and, you know, all of the folks here at this event, and Eamon as well, I'll give him a shout out, have always really put this sort of programming into the thought process. And so a couple of years ago, we said, hey, you know, can we not only do the lunch, but can we, you know, open up and the umbrella, not just for women in tech, which everybody's always been invited to that as well. And, you know, Jeff Teeper came, and, you know, men can come to it as well.
I was wondering about that because I know there's a lunch today, and I wasn't sure if...
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's invited.
I figure blue glasses slide right in.
Well, and so we've brought that programming into the main sessions. And so, Caruana Gatimo and I yesterday gave a session on leadership. Today we're doing one on networking, and then tomorrow we're doing one on mentoring. So every day at 2 o'clock, there's a session.
That's awesome.
In that vein, which is awesome.
Yeah, hats off to Tracy and her crew for recognizing that. Again, having 3 daughters.
Yeah.
I think that we just don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're such an evangelist for, you know, equal rights is not the right thing. I mean,
Equal rights is the right thing.
Is
but
that? No. I wasn't sure if that was the right terminology or if that was old school.
No, I mean,
Equal rights seems old, but it's really
equal rights is old. Equal rights is something that we've been fighting for 100 years. Equal rights in the U.S. Constitution has not yet happened. So
equal pay.
yeah,
I mean, the U.S. Open finally, and Wimbledon as well,
Yeah.
are paying the same exact check, the first place and second place, same exact for the men and women.
sure.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's talking about, I mean, terminology sort of changes, but it also is historical, right? So
Right.
equal rights amendment, those are things that are specific to, say, the U.S. Constitution that we're still wanting to have happen. And we're closer than ever, actually, with some new legislation and also the state of Illinois ratifying as well. So, like, I could go into, like, a whole discussion about that, but we won't do that right now. But the other thing is that there is the gender pay gap, and I think those things are changing because there's a lot of movement that's been happening on the shoulders of many giants of trying to move those needles forward. And one of those needles is having these conversations during technical conferences where we allow people to dip into these other conversations on mental health and wellness and mindfulness and being a good leader and all of that stuff, which is super important because we're humans first, humans of tech, humans in tech, and that's really exciting to me.
I like that. You
Yeah.
know, I never really thought about it in that vein.
Sure.
When I think about women in technology, I think about, you know, to me, a woman that is in technology actually has an advantage over a guy that's in technology.
Explain.
People look at this crowd. I
Yeah.
would say it's 80, 90% men.
Yeah.
Men in general would prefer to do business, depending upon what type of man. The typical man, I see the way the men are, and they like to talk to women.
Sure.
So I think that a woman that is in technology that could walk the talk has a great chance of being successful.
I mean, I think that there's, I think the thing is, though, is that, you know, women don't always and haven't always been allowed to share ideas or be
Right.
a part of a team, or just because men like talking to women doesn't mean they listen to them or take their, you know, their decisions as something that should be pushed forward. So I feel like there's a lot of struggle around that where, you know, there's boys clubs and there's, you know,
That's
a lot
for
of
sure. The bros culture. Mm-hmm. I absolutely despise it. I mean, what can we
Yeah.
do? You know, the WeWorks of the world, some of these other companies, Uber. We're aware of it. Okay,
Sure.
it's very public. I mean, it's a never-ending battle. And we just have to fight the good fight for equal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that here's the thing. To me, being a good person starts with us as individuals, you know, and so it's like the golden rule. It's like do unto others as they do unto you, right?
Right.
And it shouldn't matter gender, religion, you know, race, whatever. You know, it's that we should treat each other with respect, equality, and all of that. So the thing is that we live in a patriarchal grid, and we have
We
for a
do.
very long time. And so there's individual choices to be made by businesses and managers and people who have power to be an example. We talked about that yesterday in our leadership about leading by example, meaning that what you do is watched by everybody on your team, and they will mimic, just like a child mimics its parent in their behavior. Similarly, that's what happens in businesses. And so when you have, you know, leadership that is toxic or doesn't listen or those sorts of things, the rest of the company will think that behavior is okay. So to me, this is all on an individual basis of how do we treat people and how do we want to be treated. And sometimes you need to push a little bit to say, hey, wait a minute, that is not okay and this is why, and explain it. And once you explain it, sometimes people can go, oh, wait a minute, I didn't even realize that
Right.
I was doing that, right? Because we get ingrained with how it's been done in the past. It's the story of the pot roast. You know the pot roast?
No, I don't know.
Okay,
the pot
so
roast.
there's a pot roast, right? and the grandma, the mom, and the daughter are there, and they're making a pot roast. And they take the pot roast and they slice off an end of it, and they stick one piece in one pan and one in another, right? And they put it in the oven. And they're like, the daughter's like, why do we do it like that? And the mom's like, I don't know, we've always done it like that. And the grandma goes, well, my oven wasn't big enough for the whole thing, right? And so instead of just cooking a pot roast because you got a bigger oven, you're still doing it like somebody did it in the old day, right? So we need to look at how we do things and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should think differently, you know?
Right. Well, the old adage, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten.
Same result. Yeah.
Same exact result. You know, which leads me into my next topic, Heather. Culture, employee engagement. There are a lot of people that are watching right now that struggle with engagement, adoption, and some strategies. What are one or two sort of quick hits that people could literally go back to their office tomorrow, or maybe you're at your office right now struggling with this? What can you do? What can they do? You know, maybe a couple things that you have found.
I think that, you know, most businesses, whether you're virtual or you're brick and mortar or a combination of both, I think that we live and breathe in meetings, right?
That's for sure.
So I think that figuring out meetings a little bit and how to run a meeting, how to take advantage of meetings, and how we treat each other in meetings is really, really important. And that's almost like the little honeycomb that is like the starting place for a lot of pain, suffering, and toxicity.
Yes.
Because, you know, depending on what you're doing, you're trying to present an idea. Sometimes you've never done it before, first time. Sometimes you're trying to impress somebody. Sometimes you're, you know, there's so much sort of angst in the middle of a meeting, and like trying to deal with technology, you know, going into a conference room and trying to like turn on Teams and Skype and the Skype room and the thing and this and that and have your PowerPoint, and you spend the first 15 minutes. Can you hear me? I don't know. Can you hear me? I'm not sure. La, la, la. Right? It's kind of I was going to say something really bad. It's sometimes a cluster.
That's right. We're in Europe. It's okay.
So I mean, honestly, it's like learning how to run a meeting well and respect each other inside of a meeting, and having agendas and taking notes and honor and ownership. Like, to me, that helps build a positive corporate culture, because you can be in a meeting and then leave it and everybody's angry. Like, how many times has that happened where everybody leaves a meeting, nobody knows who's supposed to do what, there's no ownership of anything, and people are mad? I mean, that happens a lot.
You know, my favorite new Microsoft product, little plug for Microsoft, is the To-Do app.
Oh, I love To Do, yeah.
It changed my business life for the better.
Yeah.
And, you know, I actually don't mind getting assigned tasks.
Yeah.
I actually like my to-do list.
Yep.
It just keeps things on track. This whole time management thing, you know,
Right.
we can't get our time back.
Right.
So how we manage it, and you know, so I think the to-do is great.
Yeah. Time and good health are things you don't get back.
I like with Outlook now. If I schedule a meeting with you for a half hour,
Yeah.
they say, "You sure you can't make it 15 minutes?" There is nothing better, in my opinion, than a 15-minute meeting.
Oh, I'm all about the TED Talk minute. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody amazing can talk for 15 minutes in a TED Talk and blow your mind and make you cry, then why can't you do a meeting? I love having little 15-minute like meeting, kind of agile scrummy kind of meetings.
Sure.
Even on a daily basis.
Well, just like this interview is about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
At this point, our viewers are probably losing attention. They're checking their email. They're not really paying attention, Heather, so we could really talk about anything. New York Yankees, Chicago
Wow.
Cubs, whatever you want to talk about. The Bears.
You can tell he's from Chicago. He just
Premier
named
League.
all the Chicago teams.
No, yeah, I started with the Yankees.
Yeah, okay, I know. Fair
I'm
enough.
a New Yorker.
Fair
in
enough.
Chicago.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Heather, anything else that you'd like to cover at all? I know we sort of went through our list of fun things to do. You should definitely visit us in California if you have the opportunity.
Well, we work on the SharePoint Saturday Los Angeles, and so that's fun. And
how
we
do people
did one.
find you online? What's your favorite handle? Is it the Creative Maven or the Hedda Newman?
I kind of use both. Hedda Newman, so Hedda, Hedda, Newman is my, I guess, personal brand handle, if you will, and that's where I do sort of most of my Social, both on Twitter and Instagram. And then Creative Maven is definitely more on the business side, where I do, more of the marketing and more of the personal development and all that sort of thing. And then I'm on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and then also I have a podcast that turned a year old.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I hear these podcasts are kind of a big thing now. Nothing beats video.
I tried to schedule you. We'll get it done. But that's been really fun. So Mavens Do It Better is the podcast, and we did 53 this year. And we had a bunch of Microsoft folks on. Julia White was on, a bunch of different MVPs, and that's been really fun. And the people in the music industry. So for me, it's all about telling stories of people who are experts in their worlds. So that's
Great.
how you find me.
Well, thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
This has been a little slice of heaven for me. Always great catching up with you. We are on the super bustling floor here of ESPC 19, the European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure conference. And this is Jeff Willinger, Jay Willie on Twitter, signing off for right now.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.